What is up, guys? Wraec is here with new video, and today marks the final day of the IDA Championship. The battle of the best, the finals were played out, and we want to take a look at the fights, of course. You can already see the winners on the screen, our 10 people that won this season again. Half of them from Omega Project, which makes me quite happy, of course, that those are my clan mates, but a good amount of other people as well. And some people even, I think, with their first win. So we are definitely going to make sure to check out the fight. By the way, if you didn't know, when I talk about Battle of the Best, because I got that question, the last phase of IDA Championship, this tournament, is called Battle of the Best. Actually says it here in the help text when we scroll down, fourth, the Battle of the Best. So that is indeed the last phase of the IDA Championship. So let's check out the first fight. First of all, I want to go to Group 4. Curly88 versus Quadzilla, two names we have read on the screen quite often, though I don't think in the final yet. So definitely an interesting fight. I think both of them from Core Guild. They at least both have a similar, yeah, both from Core Guild. Curly88 you can already see with the huge SSS LFA. Actually, he wrote in the Discord today and showed me some screen of some Flameshine damage they did. I was confused because he did such high damage. Well, no longer anymore. SSS LFA, that will do some nice damage. And we see, regarding the team, we see like an team with LFA, Mockman, and SFX, a little bit interesting, of course. And the main point, selling point, of course, is like we have this Drake, we have an SFX. We have two other huge damage dealers here, and in general a huge amount of damage potential, and with a lot of killing potential as well, because SFX plus Drake, that's just always a nice combination. On the side of Quadzilla, we have, do we even have here, again, it's pretty similar, honestly. Aranir here in there as well, quite interesting. We got the Drake, going Drake with a lot of investment into him, actually. A- Drake, T5, X level 61, that's something you rarely see. Quite interesting at that. And then, of course, an A tier SFX. SFX, I have to say, got a lot cheaper. You can get some really nice copies now for a pretty small amount of money. I recently bought a new copy for, I think, 19k, 20k, something around that. It's an A+ copy, so it was even below retiring value, and we have like 7,500 attack on that, so really huge copy. I would say we just hop into the first fight. We can already see it's a pretty solid win by Curly here, with Quadzilla's team being completely wiped out and Curly taking away the win. Though, of course, always interesting to see who's the main carry here. I mean, we have the SSS LFA, but seeing that from the start, quite a suboptimal placement, which of course you can't influence. You don't know how your how the enemy will set his heroes, and being in front of an HHA, always quite bad for an LFA. Would rather be in front of like the Drake or something, but as I said, no way to influence that. This SFX, however, huge damage that she does here. And I think, was I wrong? Wait a second. No, that is Aranir, right? So we have Aranir on this side and we have MFF on this side. So that's the major difference. Getting some good CC here from the LFA. That is quite nice. I wonder if he runs CI offset on that. Then again, LFA can't really do a whole lot of damage. We have him on the opposing side of the HHA. HHA reduces the damage of the attacker every time he blocks. So in the end, LFA a little bit useless on this side, and the SFX being the star of the show, carrying away, getting the kills, and just murdering opponent. Quite nice though. Ferukin Vesa as lowest life is in general quite a good decision. Right now with big train stats, we already have the opportunity that no homeowner, Ferukin Vesa, can even heal your team back to full life, because she just gets so much attack from a good train. So that can really work out. You just need a proper artifact on her, and even if Drake inflicts defense down on her, she can't be crit, so she has an additional layer of defense that other heroes don't have. And you can, of course, if you are a huge whale, I should say, bring that up to a high level and even put some more defensive stats on her, even get an A copy, maybe put something like Divine Block, Holy Armor, some Block DR, something like that on her, and use a GPF, and you'll have a super tanky lowest life hero. Here, of course, SFX being a huge carry. And I think we can congratulate Curly88 to his first IDA champ. Don't want to say anything wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong, mate. But in any way, I want to congratulate you. A big win here. Quadzilla, a great second place. And I think like this team made a little bit of around. No, you don't say that like this in English. This team was a little bit popular in Core, it seems, because when we check out Group 1, we see God of Pain, another member from Core. Good guy, by the way, we see his teams quite often. And he's running a little bit of a similar team, with a lot more juice in it. We have like the SS tier SFX, we have an S tier LFA, an S tier Ferric Vesar, and well, nothing below A tier, not even an A minus. And he was fighting Gore, and Gore using, well, something that has become a little bit more standard. In the recent times, we have seen like those teams with HHA, Ferric Vesar, PDE, DTV, and oftentimes there was like, it was a little bit more like the team I use. And there was like an MFF added to that and an SQH. And I've seen small adaptations to that. Now you sometimes see one of the heroes taken from the team and put Drake in, or a Panda, or like in this case, both. Panda to add more attack to the rest of the team, to DTV especially. And then, of course, the Drake to inflict defense down and get some early kills. If you can take out like a PDE, that can be huge, of course. So you would definitely consider one or two of those heroes. In this case, we have both fighting against the same team that we just saw on both sides. But Gore actually took the win here. And I have to say, quite a huge win. I saw the fight already. And yeah, his DTV definitely seems to be rather big, which you will see in a second, because that thing did a whole lot of damage, and you can already see a little bit of a trend here. Ferric Vesar lowest life definitely becoming more popular. Not quite sure which artifact people use on her. It's like an MSS or something. Personally, I'm a fan of GPF. It's like crit damage reduction, yeah, but most of the time you want to use the Ferric Vesar because of Drake, and GPF seems to provide a little bit of all damage reduction, just because of the shield the hero gains every now and then. So that seems to be a little bit of a good combination. In my testing, GPF often was better as an artifact than an MSS. And there you can see the big active I was talking about in the beginning. On turn 3, not even a weakness disclosure active, so that was just normal damage. But yeah, that was quite insane. 14 billion damage here. And yeah, took out the entire team basically. While we were still talking about the MSS, but still I was quite surprised that the HHA did quite good damage here as well. So that's also quite interesting. Oftentimes you rather see PDE doing a lot of damage, which is interesting. PDE as a priest, but still, we will see it in the next fight as well. At this point, congratulations to Gore for winning this group, which is quite a hard group. We can see like GOP, Node 7, Node 4, big Noirs in here as well. One of the leaders of Utopia, JKB, Ghosty, Gore, Obi-Wan Bloop. Like all of those are names that we've seen before, even in finals and everything. So that was not an easy group, and winning that is definitely a huge success. Group 2 won by Daiko, with Barry in here as well. Barry lost against Brad though. So that's also quite interesting. Daiko, on the other hand, here with a double Panda team that I saw. Definitely wanted to show you this fight, because double Panda, that is something that I thought was quite interesting. It's not like the usual thing, but we talked about how there are adaptations of the team now, and Daiko's team with an SQH 2 Panda seems to be a little bit more damage orientated. Then we have Violet Rain. Also with an interesting team, we have like the Sahi core here, which we see a lot less nowadays, I have to say. Sahi core, Star Alchemist Holmes Young's core is more of a rare thing, though still one of the strongest cores in the game. Now with G-Star core, we have HHA core, we have some cores that are doing great work in PvP. So that is changing the meta up a little bit. And I wonder what the meta is going to be next season. I think may see some experiments with MFG, and I'm quite happy about that. Seeing some damage over time teams, something like that. That will be quite interesting, and I wonder what people are going to make from it. Here, of course, SFX, we have Drake, we have Zycore inflicting some well, not CC's perceptual disorder is a skill effect, but it controls the enemies. I still have DTV in here, which is quite interesting. And more of a very offensive team, I would say. Very offensive. We have some attack buffs from the Sai, we have Drake, and we have 2 damage dealers in here, alongside a little bit of support, so that will be quite interesting. Though Daiko, in that sense, built an even more offensive team, with like full damage loadout, 2 pandas and SQH, so we can't really put more damage into the team. I guess maybe with a 3rd panda, but at that point it becomes a little bit ridiculous. Panda stacking team. HHA core here, quite strong, already getting the DTV. If that HHA core lands on the SFX, the fight is basically done. The Megalodons already started getting like taunt immunity on the SFX if they run her in the team. Ooh! That was juicy. That nearly killed the team. A little bit more damage and there would have been that would have been done here. That was nearly brought the fight to a swift end. Now we have perceptual disorder though on the DTV and the Ferric Investor, which is kind of a design flaw, I have to say. Maybe you should have considered making the HHA a homeowner, bringing him up to a higher level than the DTV, so DTV does not get perceptual disorder. But then again, with all the damage he's inflicting, I guess it's rather unlikely that this fight ends because of weakness disclosure. I guess. So it's okay in that sense. But enormous damage here from the DTV. And we see another thing that is now part of the meta. People are trying to avoid weakness disclosure. Was a little bit of my downfall in the last season, where it came to a weakness disclosure battle that I lost, in the sense that the enemy got weakness disclosure first. And yeah, if your enemy has weakness disclosure and an active skill on his DTV and can attack, well, you lose. That is just the case. Doesn't matter if you have like 2 billion strength more, you will just lose, because that DTV is going to kill you and he's going to punch through all of your defenses. They are all worthless at this point, which I think is a bad game mechanic, but nonetheless, people now try to just stack up attack on that DTV and use pandas, use SQH to just get so much attack that they can punch through crowns and GPF in the earlier rounds, before it even comes to this turn 6, turn 5, turn 7, where you usually get those weakness disclosure buffs, and then can start in putting out those high or insanely strong active skills that just ignore all the defenses. If you can kill your enemy before that, of course, that is insane, but that requires a certain amount of resources. Daiko seems to have those resources, or at least a sufficient amount of pandas, that is, and could take the win here. So I want to congratulate on that. We can see the pinnacle, by the way, of this strategy of having the stats to punch through your enemy's defenses early on. In this wonderful fight here, we usually don't look at Jesus' here fights because they are a slaughterhouse. But in this situation, I want to show you guys that. Jesus also with the variant of the DTV team with the Drake and the Panda. 8 tiers on the Panda and the Drake, A- on the Drake. Jesus, running out of money. Nah, I'm joking. I'm joking. A- is already such a huge investment into a Drake, honestly. B tier would have sufficed, I guess. But Jesus has an insane amount of attack and an insanely good DTV. I tried to experiment with some teams against him, and yeah, that didn't end well. He just slaughtered my team. And you can see the same effect now on Quake, another good guy. Place 2, I didn't even know he snatched place 2 in, is it Starland? I always forget the name, Starland Arena. Horrible game mode, but place 2 is quite insane. Place 1 versus place 2 here. But you can see this fight, and this is like the pinnacle of the strategy of having just enough burst to punch through your enemy in the early rounds. And this is exactly what Jesus is doing. Honestly, he runs a Drake, but I probably have never seen a Drake being that useless, because it just looks like every one of those enemies has defense down on them, because it seems like he got the weakness disclosure on turn 2. Weakness disclosure active on turn 2. And here's also another thing that I meant, like the PDE doing a ton of damage. Jesus' PDE is insane. We can watch the fight again, it was not that long. Try to look for the PDE There you can see it instantly into defense down, into unbending will. And she will do an active skill later on, and if you check that out, that I think triggered unbending will as well. She just does a ton of damage. There you can see it. Oh, didn't trigger unbending will here. But yeah, keep in mind, let's watch it again. Let's watch it a third time. It's just such a short fight. Only seconds. Crown, fan, and I think maybe some A and Bs here. Something along the lines of that. So it's not like those guys are using demon bells or snow hearts or MS or something like that. Those guys are using defensive artifacts, but it sure doesn't seem like that. So yeah, that is the insane point, and that is like a little bit of the meta for this IDA, and I think it's the last time we're going to see a meta like this. A little bit adapted DTV teams, no longer going for this super tanky weakness disclosure. Some SFX teams that were a lot more popular on iOS before, now also on Android. And I think we are going to see the pinnacle of this with Taunt Immune SFX soon, unless, of course, people find good teams with MFG, with G-Star, that I haven't managed to do yet, I have to be honest. I saw some good variants, but in general, G-Star struggles a bit against DTV. And anyway, let's hop back to the Hall of Glory for Season 42. Gore, Daiko, Fifi, Curly, X, Dakrita, Supergod, Jesus, Toyboy, and M. Congratulations to you guys for winning Season 42 of the IDA Championship of the Battle of the Best. And with that, I wish you guys a great week, and we will see us in the next one.